I'm Nikki Rao, and I live in Napoleon, North Dakota.
Tell me about growing up. Did you grow up on a farm?
Growing up, I grew up on a farm. I was the oldest by quite a while. I have two younger brothers. My dad had a few cattle and also farmed in Sawyer, North Dakota.
So, what type of things did you do on the farm?
Growing up, I was kind of my dad's hired man. I did whatever he needed me to do. I would check cattle on horseback pretty much every day, every other day, anywhere from hauling hay, rolling beans, anything that he needed me to do.
Did you work on the machinery as well? I mean, use the machinery as well?
I did use machinery, yep. I ran tractors, combines, semi, whatever he needed of me.
Was that unusual, or did your friends have a similar sort of experience?
To me, it was interesting that my friends that lived in town, they would drive around town and waste gas on that, to where for me, I drove to town if I had to get something. So that was different for me as far as my friends.
When you were growing up as a kid, were you isolated on the farm, or did you have a lot of social interaction?
I had a lot of social interaction. I was involved in a bunch of different groups and activities in school, so I didn't feel isolated on the farm.
Were you part of Future Farmers?
I wasn't. I was big in 4-H. FFA wasn't a big thing that we had in Ward County. 4-H was kind of a bigger deal, which has been different for me down here because FFA is really big in Napoleon. So
What type of things did you do though?
for 4-H,
For yeah.
in 4-H, I did a few static exhibits, but mostly horses. I entered my horses in the 4-H Achievement Days in the State Fair, which was convenient because the State Fair was in Minot, so it was close for me and I was able to attend. I grew up in Sawyer, North Dakota, on a farm. My dad has cattle still and also farms.
What do you think you learned as a kid growing up on a farm?
I think growing up on a farm, I learned a good work ethic. I learned that nothing is handed to you. You have to work for what you want, and life doesn't come easy. Things aren't always the way that you want them to be, but you have to push through and eventually come out the other side.
Seems like your dad treated you just like he would have treated the boys on the farm as well.
My dad treated me very well. He was always very patient with me. He was always very, even if I did something wrong, he didn't spout off or get upset with me. He just would come, take a deep breath, and explain to me what needed to be done differently. So he was always very patient and a great teacher for me.
When we have been interviewing a lot of the older women that we interviewed, if they were the oldest daughter, they did things similar to you. If they were younger than that, they often did kitchen work.
Yep.
So, were you involved in kitchens as well?
I did, yep. My stepmom worked off the farm, and so I was home in the summers. It was me and my younger brothers, and they were they were 2 years apart, so they were as young as 2 up to 5. And so I had them with me during the days, and I'd saddle up 3 horses, we'd check cattle, help dad with whatever he needed, make meals, and so yeah, I've always been providing meals also. My dad's mom was always very good at packing out a hot meal for supper. So no matter where you were, she always had a hot meal, full meal that was brought to the field if guys weren't able to come home.
Okay, why don't we progress a little bit? When you were growing up, did you think you would marry a farmer?
I hoped that I would marry a farmer, and honestly, I enjoy the ranching aspect of farming and ranching better, which my husband does also. So I feel like this is the life that I've always wanted. And my mom makes the comment often. She goes, "Mark is the exact person that I thought that you would find someday."
Well, how did you two of you meet?
Mark and I met in college. We went to college in Wahpeton. He went for welding and I went for dental assisting. And we actually had a night English class together. We met in 2003 and we were friends, and we didn't start dating until 2006.
And then when did you get married?
And we got married in 2009 in Napoleon.
Now, when you guys were young, how did you get the land? How did you get established in farming?
So Mark has always, when he was younger growing up, his dad was a very good teacher. He helped him along, but he also didn't make it so easy for him. He, let him fall on his face a little bit. So his dad has been a very good mentor to him, and my husband is a risk taker. So he's really good at managing, and also, we've bought land and things of that sort, and just he's been good at being progressive.
Did his family help you guys get started?
A little bit. His dad did, as far as, we typically, primarily we ranch. So as far as for the farming that we do, we farm for what we need for feed. So like his dad has a sprayer, his dad has the combine, but we also help his dad with whatever he needs, and he helps us as far as when we're working cattle and stuff. If he wants to, if we need his help, he'll come and help us.
So what does his dad raise? Is he more of a farmer than a rancher?
Yes, his dad does not like cattle. He sold us cattle in 1991, and if you've ever met him, he'll tell you that. So he farms, and then we have cattle. So it's a good balance that they both don't want to be doing the same thing. It's a good balance for operation that his dad is mostly farming and we're ranching.
So do they live in the house next to you?
They do. Yep, they live right up on the hill.
So is that how you got this land here, and why you got the land here?
Yep, the land that we're on right now, Mark always jokes because he grew up at his parents' house, and he said that he's made it real far in life because he made it across the quarter line, which is where we are right now. And this actually, where our house is the middle of a pasture. It was a pasture before we built here 10 years ago.
So did you start, you really have a nice operation here, but I'm sure you didn't start with a house like this.
We didn't. We were hoping to find something in town when we got engaged. I was working in Bismarck at the time, and I ended up getting a job in Wishick at the dental office. So we looked for houses in town, and at the time in 2008, there wasn't a lot available. There was a few houses, but they were really run down and just nothing really. And there's no other farmhouse or anything available. So we had a double wide house that we lived in for 9 years, and then we just built our home this past year.
Beautiful view too.
Yeah, it is. It's great.
So why don't we talk a little bit about your family? So the two of you got married, and now you have a family. So why don't you tell me about that?
Yeah, we got married in 2009, and then we struggled to get pregnant, and so we had our first child in January of 2012. And then we decided we didn't know if she would be our only child, so we decided we would just, whatever happens, happens. And we had 2 kids in 16 months. We had 3 kids, 3 and under, and now we have 4 kids. And when our baby was born, we had 4 kids aged 4 and under. So, and our family's complete.
So how, as a woman, how do you manage that?
I manage it because I don't know any better. And a lot of people, like when I go to Bismarck and things, they look at me like, are those all your kids? And I don't really feel like it's that big of an anomaly that I have 4 kids, but I didn't acquire them all at one time. So I feel like you just make adjustments as to what works for you. And the other thing is, it's Mark and I, and we always have the kids. I don't send my kids to daycare. They're always with us. So whatever we're doing, they're with us. And the thing that I enjoy is that they love this lifestyle also, which makes it easier for all of us.
So when you go out and do chores, let's say, do you take them along with you? How does that work?
So when we do chores, usually I have 3 kids and Mark has 1 because there's not a lot of room in the payloader for multiple kids. So I usually have 3 kids. A lot of times it's the girls. Trey usually wants to be with his dad because he's tired of being with the girls all the time. Last year, when we were seeding beans, I had 4 kids in a tractor rolling beans from 5 to 8 hours a day, and they did great. And we also our kids aren't on devices. I'm not opposed to devices, but they look out the window and talk and read books and color and that kind of stuff. So I am thankful that I get to take them along and that they tolerate it also.
Do you think part of the thing that helps you is the modern machinery allows you to do that?
I do think that is very helpful, that the modern machinery allows me to have the room and the space to take the kids along.
Yeah, we were talking to some woman earlier this week who had to take her child along. What you're talking about is something that's happened seemingly forever in farm communities.
Yep.
But she tied her kid to the tractor with some twine.
Yeah.
Because she was afraid he was going to fall off.
Yes.
Hopefully you don't have to do that.
No, we have, now that everybody, when we had a baby, anytime we had a baby, I always had him in like the infant car seat, and the infant car seat could sit right over on the left side by the joystick. So the baby was kind of wedged in there, and then somebody would be in my lap, and somebody would be, they're just kind of kids everywhere, wherever they could get comfortable. So, and depending on what tractor we were in, sometimes it was a little bit more accommodating than other pieces of equipment that we have.
So it must be seasonal as well.
Yes, yep. And then like in the summer and spring, obviously we're not in the tractor as much. Haying season, sometimes if they need me, we also have a hired man. So if they need me, I'll be there. And if not, then I'm busy taking mineral out to cattle, checking waters, feeding everybody, that kind of thing.
So I would think with cattle, that's a daily chore, right?
Cattle, it's a daily chore as far as making sure, especially when we've had really hot summers, just making sure that the wells are working, the water tanks are full, and just making sure we don't have sick cattle, make sure that our bulls are good, nobody's got sore feet, everybody's performing well. So, and calving is also another busy time for us. And when I worked, as soon as I came home from work, I took over as far as tagging and doing whatever we needed to do outside. And then from May of 2011 until January of 2018, I was either pregnant, nursing, or both, with no break in between. So I wasn't a ton of help outside then. So this year was the first year that I was able to go out and help again. And I enjoy it, and it helps Mark out because his dad is usually, we don't calve till later. We don't calve till the middle of April. So his dad is usually in the field at that point. So it's helpful that I can go out and tag and check and do whatever we need to do to keep the operation going.
But you seem to enjoy that.
I do. I'll enjoy the cattle. I enjoy the calving aspect of things. And I think that this year, like I said, having those years being in the house with little kids, I enjoy that kind of freedom and just a mental break from the, day-to-day with the mom stuff, even if it's just for a couple hours.
So it sounds like you're different than if you had been a city kid. What do you think the differences are?
I think that the differences as far as growing up on a farm and growing up in the city, I don't want to say that city kids don't have as much responsibility, but I think on the farm it's just expected. You have to help out to keep things going and to keep everything running smoothly. And I wouldn't have to go out and help during calving, but I enjoy it, and it gets my husband in the house earlier because he needs a break too.
Well, you're a few miles from your neighbors. Do you have a support group of other women that you are able to talk to?
I do have a support group of other women. I have some really good friends that I've met in town from a variety, stay-at-home moms, teachers, ranch wives, business owners, to where I not necessarily get together often, but nowadays with social media technology, text messaging, all of that kind of thing, I can keep in contact and still feel like I'm not isolated in the middle of nowhere and just yearning for that adult interaction.
What are some of the things you talk about?
Kids mostly. A lot of us have husbands. They're busy. They're gone a lot. They're outside. They're working. And then just trying to plan time where we can just get away from the chaos and just have a mental break.
So you look at your life and you think about women who have come before you on the farm. What are the similarities and what do you think are the differences?
I think that the similarities would be they worked hard to do what needed to be done to keep everything moving forward. I think that the differences are nowadays we're spoiled. We've got good equipment, we've got cabs, we've got air conditioning, we've got, our third child, she has allergies. And so if I had to have her out on some kind of cabless machine or something like that, it wouldn't work well for her. So I think that we are very fortunate to have the technology that we do have.
Even in your lifetime, have you seen the technology change that makes it, I'm going to say easier to farm, but has helped with farming?
Yes, I have seen the change in technology, and it's funny because 2 years ago when I was rolling beans, I've never driven with auto steer. I just drive with, there's a fence post or, that's how I've done it. And this year, my husband, when he was rolling beans, he got bored because he was using auto steer. I'm like, well, I never had that option, and I don't know if I would like that option, but I feel like there's a lot of different technology things that are beneficial too. But
So that's the other thing. Are you connected when you're in the cabs to
as
the internet?
no. Well, I mean, I think we could get on the internet, but I don't, with 4 kids all around me and trying to pay attention to what I'm doing, I don't really have time to be connected to the internet. We have radios in all of our equipment, so if I need to get a hold of one of the guys, or, we have conversations with that. Plus, I have lots of little voices chattering, so.
You mentioned rolling beans. Tell us what rolling beans is.
So after you plant the soybean crop, then you go over with the big land roller, and any rocks that are sticking out, it kind of pushes them down, because when you combine the beans, the header has to be really low to the ground, and you don't want to suck up any rocks in your header. So, and they have to be rolled before they start coming up.
Okay, we might have said this off camera, but why don't you take me through your operation here and the type of things that you raise the cattle and the type of crops that you raise on the operation?
Okay, so my father-in-law, he is primarily does the farming, and this year he has barley and soybeans and corn. Mark and I have corn and soybeans, and our corn we use for chopping for silage or earlage to use to feed our cattle throughout the winter.
So I imagine there's been good years and bad years, and depending on market prices. Could you talk about that?
Yeah, there definitely have been good years and bad years. And the other thing is the weather. Like right now, we need rain. We really need rain. Our crops are dry. And this week, if with it being really hot temperatures, it makes things difficult, and we don't know what our harvest is going to bring. So the years of really dry weather, it makes things more difficult.
And why don't you mention what you do in different seasons?
Okay. So we start calving in like the middle of April. So we calve from the middle of April until about the middle of June. And once we're getting towards the end of calving, we work all of our cows and calves, and we get them put out on their summer pasture. And then that kind of takes us right into haying season. So we make hay to get us through the winter, and make sure that we have more, just in case you don't know what kind of winter you're going to have, how long your winter season is going to be. So haying season kind of runs right into harvest season. So then once we get done with harvest, usually you're getting cattle in ready to preg check them, see how your bulls did, see what your conception rate was. So then we usually have a little bit of downtime, maybe January, February. We're still feeding cattle. We have a feedlot, so we're still feeding cattle every day. So a downtime as far as, it's not the up early in the morning and in the house late at night.
Are you involved with your husband in the planning and that sort of thing on the farm?
Mark does most of the planning, and I just do whatever I'm needed to do. The kids joke that mom's the kid boss and dad's the cow boss. So.
Do you guys ever get a break? Do you take a vacation?
We actually took our first vacation together alone without kids this year. That's been the first time since 2011. And we went for a weekend. We went to Deadwood, South Dakota, and it was nice. It's been busy with all these little kids, and either being pregnant or nursing. It's been hard to get away. So we got away for a weekend, and it was great.
But it must be, I know you enjoy your family, and I know you love your kids, but it's like all the time, 24/7, and then you have the farming on top of that.
Yeah, it gets to be a lot, but it's worth it. This lifestyle is worth all of the long days, the long nights. We see each other every day, and the other thing that I'm thankful for is that I get to stay home to raise our kids, and they miss Mark. There's long days to where he's gone before they're up in the morning, he's home after they're in bed, but we have the option to take meals to the field so where they can see him for 10 or 15 minutes, or he's very good about taking them along with him if it's something that he can take them with. So we just make the best of it, because complaining about it isn't going to make it any better.
What is it about the connection to land, as we've talked to a good many of the ladies that we talk about their love of the lifestyle and their connection to land? Can you talk about that a little bit?
The love of the lifestyle, I think that it's a simple life in a certain aspect. And I think that we take for granted what we have here because this is our norm. I had family visit from out of state just this summer, and they were just in awe of our views and the land, and to take, they took the four-wheelers and the Rangers and went for a ride, and then like we would have to pay hundreds of dollars to do these kinds of things where they come from. And when we have people here that say that we have hunters that come from out of state and they're like, oh, it's so beautiful, we take for granted. I feel like, me especially, how lucky and fortunate we are to be surrounded by just such beautiful views and land.
So you should charge them, make extra money.
Well, Mark joked we took him for a horse ride. We grilled steaks that night, and he's like, well, this is the cowboy buckaroo package. Now you had the horse ride and the steaks and the ATV package, and it's kind of funny.
Well, you do have a beautiful view. The thing that strikes us coming from the Red River Valley, people think of North Dakota as flat, and you guys have a wide variety of terrain here.
We do have a wide variety of terrain here, and this was a change for me because where I grew up in Sawyer, there's a lot of old coal mines, hills, trees, creeks, and that kind of thing. And here it's wide open spaces, hills, not a lot of trees.
So as you think about your life so far, and you think about people who've come before you, if some young lady came to you, or maybe your daughter someday, says, I think I'd like to be in agriculture, what would you tell them?
If anybody came to me being interested in being in agriculture, I would encourage them. I feel like being in agriculture teaches you great lifelong skills and lifelong lessons as far as the peaks and valleys. There's good years, there's bad years. There's, good times and bad times. And as long as you persevere through the bad times, the good times are that much better.
And you mentioned that you're a little bit spoiled being a modern woman today. Do you think when you look at what people went through, let's say in the 1930s, that must, because you're so close to it, you must really have maybe a sense of awe for those people from that generation.
Yeah, I think that the older generations, I think it's all a perspective too. Like, they didn't know any better at that time, so they thought that they probably, if they had covered wagons, or when people came over with covered wagons versus just having to ride a horse or something like that. And nowadays we are spoiled with what we have, but my kids, when they get to be my age or older, are probably going to think of what they have at that point is spoiled, and the technology that we have now is going to be extremely outdated, which is hard to wrap your mind around.
You'll be able to say then, oh, you guys have it so easy.
Yes. Yes, it's a very common.
That's our comment.
Yep.
Yes, they have it so easy nowadays.
Yes. Yeah.